Yashodanandana Brahmayanandana Yamunatira Manasadu Yamunatira Yamunatira Manasadu Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Sita Gora Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Sita Gora Hare Bo, Sita Gora Hare Bo. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. This is here. Shall I lecture about the same verse again, or we have a new verse?
No, we have a new verse.
Huh?
We have a new verse.
Okay. Wait. Yeah. Couldn't. Good morning, sir. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tatapare Siddhagana Mahashibir. Yavai Samantat Anunida Nila Lohitaha. Namaskrita Praha Sasanka Shekhara. Krita Prananam Prasan Ivat Manabu. Tata. So, apare, the others. Siddha Gana, the Siddhas. Maha, oh, wait. Maharishi B, along with great sages. Ye, who, why, indeed. Samantat, from all sides. Anu, after. Nila Lohitam, Lord Shiva. Namaskitaha, making obeisances. Praha, said. Shashanka Shekharam, to Lord Shiva. Krita Prananam, having made obeisances. Prahanam, smiling. Eva, as. Atmabu, Lord Brahma. So all the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narada and others, also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma was smiling because he knew that Lord Shiva is not only easily satisfied, but also easily irritated. He was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood because he had lost his wife and had been insulted by Daksha. In other words, to conceal his fear, he smiled and addressed Lord Shiva as follows. Mama Gyan, Timirandasya Ganandra Slape, Chatramitaminatasmai. Siguramina Mahasi Chaitanya Manavishtam, Sabitamina Bhutale, Swayam Rupakaramayam, Tadati Swaparantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Silvita Grahara Sri Go Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Ihr müsst aufwachen. So you see here all these sages sitting together, Lord Shiva, Narad, Lord Brahma, and still they observe etiquette. It is something which is absolutely necessary to understand etiquette, the principle of etiquette. Namely, a child may I give you an example. When I was a little boy, we had one room rented out in our house to one forester. And he had a nose like this, like an eagle, So one day he came and rang the door, and I opened the door. My mother said, "Who is there?" I said, "The hognose is there." So, for a child it is adequate zu sagen, jemand hat eine Hakennase. But grown-up men will be very insulted if you say that. So for children there's no etiquette, there's any damn thing, And people find that funny. Just like when I was a child, I was a baby. I was lying there naked. My mother was cleaning me. And my sister, she sat on the other side and looked at me with the mouth open, and I peed in their mouth. I was half a year old. Now, if I tell today people I peed in the mouth of my sister, I will be on the internet. People will start an exclusion procedure to get me out of ISKCON, to say such a thing in public. But if a little child does it, it is charming, right? I still remember that, and I can't remember, but everyone in my family knows that I peed in the mouth of my sister. So we have to understand etiquette is not applicable to children. Children say anything. Like my little George Harrison was in my house, the Beatle, for some time, and my little boy asked him, "George, is Michael Jackson a child molester?" Which George said, who said that? Who said that? I didn't say. Because children say any damn thing, it is accepted. My father, we are living at the Dutch border between Germany and Holland. I'm actually Dutch, I'm not German, I'm Dutch citizen. And so, because on the other side the cheese was cheaper, you could buy a huge wheel of Gouda cheese for a reasonable amount of money. So my father bought it in Hengeloos on the other side of Meppen, Emsland, which is Catholic, 110% Catholic. There was one Protestant who dared to be in my school, and it was my sister said, "Never talk to him." I said, "Why?" "He's fanatic." I said, "What does it mean?" She said, "Something very bad." So we drove over the border, my father with his cheese under the seat, and the custom officer, German custom, "Mr. Brinkman, do you have anything to declare?" And my father said, "No." And I said, "Now, what about the cheese under your seat?" And so the custom officer, "Out of the mouth of the child, the truth is spoken. Can you please get up?" And my father had to pay a fine and the taxes. And then he drove for 50 yards and he slapped me in the face. "Why did you do that? You always told me to tell the truth." But not this time. So children can say anything, it's acceptable. Whatever they do is funny, But for everybody else there's etiquette. We have to be respectful to other people. I just told you the story yesterday in the Brahmacharya ashram. There was a Christian teacher, a young teacher, and he invited the Hare Krishna devotees in Edinburgh to tell the people what they believe. And so the teacher was there with his students, and the devotee spoke about Krishna consciousness, all very nice. And then the teacher said, now, how do we get together here? And we believe that Jesus is the only way. And this little brahmachari was very new. He said, are you eating meat? I said, yes, I'm eating meat. You are a pig. So the teacher was outraged, He said, Unverschämtheit. And he left, all the children left in a second. So we have to keep etiquette under all circumstances, even if somebody may be a pig, but you don't say that you're a pig. It's insulting to a normal person. And so etiquette is very important. In the spiritual world, and even in the world of the devas, there's exquisite understanding of etiquette. You don't do that. Just like sometimes, in America particularly, some people say, well, Prabhupada, he shouldn't have said that, something, And in India, that's inconceivable, that you say something like this, which is slightly critical to the Guru. Impossible. Impossible. If you have a Guru, you cannot say anything. You may think, but you cannot say. That's completely unacceptable. Any kind of even the slightest slight is unacceptable according to Vedic culture, because he's a Guru. And even the Guru said, if Nityananda goes into the liquor shop, one should think actually he's just preaching. Should never think. There was a story in this regard that there was a village in India, it's a true story, 15th century. There was at noon one day, all the birds died. From one moment to another, birds fell from the sky, chicken fell over, whatever was there. And they went to the Guru, he was living in a tree, the Guru Maharaj. All birds are dead. What does that mean? He said, now I have to think about that. So he went into his hut, in the tree house, he came out and said, this is Krishna's mercy. People who were not religious, we can't say anything, it's the Guru, but people are just... Anyway, 1 week later, at the same time, same weekday, all the dogs died. And so people got really nervous, they went to the Guru Maharaj. Last week all the birds died, now all the dogs died. What does it mean? He said, well, let me think about it. When the hut came out, this is Krishna's mercy. It's true in one sense. So then he went, another week passed, and all of a sudden, people were cooking, all of a sudden, the fires went out in every hut at the same time. And in India, they don't have matches. The fire burn either in the house or the temple. There's always some fire that you can go. You go to the priest for fire or whatever. It's a catastrophe. I mean, unless they're Asterix and Obelix who take a stone and make some fire. And so all the fire, they say, what does it mean? And he said, Krishna's mercy. So then the group immediately split. On one side, it's always like this, then it splits. If there's some misunderstanding, on one side they were the hardcore supporters of the Guru, and the others said, the Guru is a cheater, and they went up and tried to grab him. The others one grabbed him, and there was a fight between the two parties broke out. Terrible fight. And the Guru said, that's also Krishna's mercy. Some people thought the Guru was phony, others said the Guru is genuine, and they settled. They were not settling, they were very dissatisfied. And next week, at the same time, was a week at 12 o'clock, all of a sudden the Muslims came in India. And all the villages were pilfered and people were killed, etc. When they came to this village, the commander-in-chief said, wait, what do you see? So you don't see anything, Maharaj. Look again, what do you see? Nothing. So that's why. There are no birds, there are no even dogs barking, not even when smoke comes from the houses. This is a trap, and they ran away. So they went to the Guru, all the people, Guru Maharaj, how is that possible? All the other villages are destroyed. What's going on here? He said, I told you, namely that everything is Krishna's mercy. Whatever happens, at every moment is Krishna's mercy. The whole material world is actually nothing but a manifestation of Krishna's mercy. That's all it is. And at every moment. Now I have a wound, that's also Krishna's mercy. Some people may spit at you. I remember one time we had a Hainam in Sligo, and a man came and he spat into the face of my wife. And I grabbed him, I turned him around and just kicked him into the rear end, that he fell on the ground. And all the other people were clapping. This is very good. So whatever happens actually is there, that we become humble, that we say, all right, whatever happens to me, Lord Chaitanya, he is the emblem of humility. He says, my dear Lord, you are always my Lord, whatever happens. If you give me pain, if you give me happiness, under all circumstances, you're my Lord. Even if you make me broken-hearted by not being present before you, even if you cause me suffering, even that suffering that you cause me is the best of my happiness. I mean, that's as far as you can go, the best of my happiness. I do not care for my personal happiness. I only care for Krishna's happiness. There is good Krishna happiness to give me distress, and that distress is the greatest of my happiness. I mean, this is, there's nothing more there's no, how do we say, nothing is more eloquent statement than this one. It's the top. It's very the top. Even if you cause me distress, and then that distress is the greatest of my happiness. How can anybody think like this? Unless he is a Krishna conscious, And so in Krishna consciousness we have to learn this, that a devotee, this is a very high level, that he understands that the Lord has come in the form of distress. And there's a very beautiful verse in this regard. Just find it, give me a second. Where would that be? Here. Mitchell Wind is on the phone, my God. I'm busy right now. Where is this here? Yes. No. Maybe. Okay, we're getting there. There's one verse, famous verse, that is quoted again and again by devotees, and this is Tatinu kampam sukshamikshamanaha. What is that verse? 10:14:8. Tatinu kampam 10:14:8. Give me 1 second. Bhagavatam 10:14 and Tatinu kampam sukshamikamano bunjana ivadma kritam vipakam rit vak vapubil vadadan namaste jivite yomukti padesa dayabak. Shame on me that I don't know this verse by heart after all these years. My Lord, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his mass deeds, and offering you a respectful obeisance with his heart, words, and body, is truly eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful place. This verse is a very famous verse in Vaishnava tradition. I read it again. My dear Lord, why don't we repeat? My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while, patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisance with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So Srila Swami says here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness following the regular principle of Bhakti Yoga automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the Lord. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. The word Su Samikshamana indicates that the devotee earnestly waits for the mercy of the Lord, even while he suffers the painful effects of previous life. Lord Krishna explained in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind, the devotee still maintains the remnants of his previous sinful mentality. That means he may think about it. He doesn't do it, but he thinks about it. Like even the Yamunacharya, the huge Acharya said, when my mind thinks of sex, inconceivable. Even they, sometimes the mind goes there. He said, I spit on that thought. That's the good way to do it. He goes, sorry. He spits on the thought, right? So the mind still maintains the remnants of previous sin. The Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving the devotee punishment that may sometimes resemble sinful reaction. So it's not karma, because thinking is not sinful, actually. In Kali Yuga, in Satya Yuga, even a sinful thought is punishable. In Kali Yuga is understood. And we are so off the wall in Kali Yuga, human beings are so fallen and mad that Krishna is giving this, this concession, and it will not be punished. Somebody thanks God. And but he will be freed from this entanglement by Krishna giving him some sort of little, like, don't do that, Sometimes you have to do that, I remember my son, I have not beaten my children even once, although they're sometimes really naughty. And my son did a really bad thing, well, I won't explain it, So I said to him, Nila, I said, I never have beaten you, and now I should beat you. This is too bad, You got kicked out of school. And I said, but I will not beat you unless you give me permission. Will you give me permission that I beat you? He said, yes. Like this, Very sweet relationship. That was it, Just a little bit. So Krishna also gives us just a little bit, like this little clap with the hand, If we are completely purified, if we are not completely purified, well, we have to suffer, we get reactions, this and that, I'm just here, I fell out of the shower in Spain, and I fell on the floor. The shower wall, it was constructed by devotees, a devotee shower. And there was a frame, and there was a very thin, the cheapest plastic sheet they could possibly buy. 1/10 of an inch or something, And so I wash myself, and I always, when I wash my head, I have to lean against something because I lose balance. So I had no idea. I fell through that thing, and there was a toilet there, and with my back I fell on the toilet. And I fell on the ground, and I was speechless. I was speechless for 10 minutes. I was just in a shock, trying to get my head together. And then finally I realized I have to open the lock. It's so painful, you know. In any case, this is a reaction for something bad. Krishna goes, you know, don't do that. And so this unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is technically not a karmic reaction. It's rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotees to completely let go of everything in the material world to return back home, back to God. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode, therefore he is willing to accept the Lord's mercy for its punishment and continues offering respect and obeisance to the Lord with his heart, words and body. I mean, we have, in past life, or in even this life, we have done sinful activities, but we were not really sorry for it, you know. Smoked a joint, not good, but you're not really sorry, so I'm pretty good, you know. so that's in the heart is still there. We don't feel so bad about what happened in the past. And this is it says, such a bona fide servant, considering all hardship, a small price to pay for gaining personal association with the Lord, and he certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated by the word Dayabhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one must approach the Supreme Lord Krishna one cannot approach the Supreme Krishna without rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is actually a curative treatment administered by the personal hands of the Lord. Just like we had this devotee that came here. Where was it here? No, it was was it here or was it in Poland? He gave me a massage on my, and this guy's expert, you know, and I've never seen that before. He went over there and he got it, you know, he said, there it is. You know, put his finger there and pressed it, you know, I was screaming in pain, you know. But he knew how to get my head free of any kind of suffering. After that, it was first class. After that, I felt like a god. But it was very painful. So that's exactly what he is talking going, may appear suffering, but is the curative treatment administered by the Lord himself, by the personal hand of the Lord. It may be sometimes very painful, but this cures a man. Like a doctor, sometimes he has to cut. If there's some boil. The boil is the doctor has to take a knife and cut it. I remember I had a sty in my ear, you know, in my eye, you know, sty, so Gerstenkorn, something like that. That's infected. And the doctor explained to me, Indian doctor said, in the West you take a knife. We don't do this in India. You know, there are other ways to do that. So in the meantime, he took a knife and light some fire and light this fire. He came close with the knife and said, I'm cutting. No, I'm cutting. I don't do that. I told you already. And then he cut it. And said, you did cut it. He said, no. It was a cure. And it was healed. Sometimes people are really smart, you know, how they do things. So, in any case, we have to wait for Krishna. You see, this is a very important issue. In the material world, people don't wait for Krishna to become happy, to become rich, or what. They just work. It's called uga karma. You just work to get something. In the spiritual world, people just wait for Krishna. The coward boys, they got everything from Krishna. They don't have to work, they don't have to kill Agasura. They just cry, Krishna, that's all, and then he comes and smacks the heck out of the kid, out of the dragon, you know. This is all, it's all Bhagavatam. This mechanism of just depending on Krishna. And if you always depend on me, Krishna says you can cross over all difficulties of material life. If you depend on Krishna, you know. And great souls do that. They depend, you know. Instead of trying so hard by your own energy to get something, Krishna knows if you actually need it. And if he needs, he will give it to you. Right? He will give it to you. But we are working very hard to get it right now. This is Asura mentality. Pure devotee just waits for Krishna's mercy. Whatever Krishna gives him, he takes. If Krishna doesn't give him something, he doesn't take. If there's no food, he just says, oh, there's no food, what can I do? Krishna's mercy. And if somebody brings him a large amount of food, then he says, Krishna's mercy. You know, he's always equiposed under all circumstances. He has no obligations anymore to anybody because he has fulfilled the obligations to the world when it comes to Krishna consciousness. And he is not in anxiety because he knows that even when I die, the fact is, there's nothing I can do about it. Krishna, I will not die 1 second before I'm supposed to die. It's completely in Krishna's hand. We can have this confidence, completely in Krishna's hand. You know? And even the demons, they don't suffer this much more than they're supposed to suffer. Not this much more. If he's a good demon, for example, he's not exactly aggressive, he doesn't drink baby's blood or whatever. If he's a simple demon, you know, he gets the same reaction like everybody else for a particular deed. There is a particular kind of punishment, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. It says in the Bible, you know. So even the demons cannot suffer more than they deserve it. So whatever we are getting for Krishna, I'm so afraid, actually we should think, yes, you know, but I'm getting only what Krishna wants. It's only what Krishna arranges for me. Nothing more, nothing left. And he knows best. Krishna knows best. And so we have to learn to wait sometimes. Like Prabhupada gives us the example. Is this a line or is this the deity who makes this noise?
Does he have a microphone here?
Ah.
No, the microphone is here actually. We can remove that one if it annoys you. Now the microphone is on your neck, Prabhu.
On my leg?
Neck. Here it is.
Hare Krishna. Okay, why have I this contraption then? Hare Krishna. So in any case, what did I say? What did
Eye for an eye, teeth for teeth.
Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. It's very simple to understand. That's justice. You know, that's justice. You steal somebody, you have to give it back. If you do something wrong, you have to repair it. You know, if you do something wrong, there are 4 steps. Step number 1, what is that? Realization that I did something wrong, first thing. What is the next step? You have to feel bad about it. Remorse. What's the next step? Reparation. You have to repair it. And then there's, we can sing and dance in kirtan, reconciliation. Like for example, I steal your money. Right? And then I meet you after some time, and you said, what about the money? I said, come on, now let's sing and dance, it's the past, come on, don't be so fuzzy about it. You'll be my friend, I love you, and you love me, and everything is all. So there's some steps in between to come to the point of reconciliation. You see? It's a very, you have to remember that. 4 steps, you know. Somebody may write this on the blackboard. Number 1, realization. Number 1, realization. What is the second one?
4 steps for what? For,
huh? 4 steps.
For what? What do we call it? 4 steps for?
For anything. 4 steps for anything.
4 steps for stealing money.
4 steps from offense to reconciliation. That's the thing. From offense to reconciliation. Is he writing Arabic?
2, 3.
Okay. The first step, number 1, making a 1, and then it is realization. I did something really bad. You know? And one time my small son, he did something very bad. And he puts grass into his mouth, you know, straw. He came and said, I did something very bad. Sits a little stands there with grass in his mouth. Said, what can you do? I said, it's all right, you know. It's a sign of humility that you put grass in your mouth, you know. There was a festival, a rock and roll festival here, and there was a really good ice cream stall run by devotees. I would just go there with piece grass in my mouth and stood there like that, you know. So I knew they wanted some ice cream. So let's go here. Realization number 2, remorse. You don't feel good about it. Ha ha ha, I stole something. No, remorse, I feel sorry. I do something. You insult somebody. You have to realize that this was completely off the wall. Second of all, you have to feel sorry about it. It's, you know, terrible. Then you have to repair. Reparation. And then number 4 is reconciliation. You can sing and dance, but not before. You have to. If I do something, or I steal I cut your throttles off at night while you're sleeping, right? You wake up, you have no throttles anymore. Can you imagine? What a shock. And then you say, who did it? I say, I did it. Are you out of your mind, you know? No, there's nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to do it. I felt like doing it. If it feels good, do it. That's not the thing. You have to apologize. And I'm very sorry, you know, and I get you a wig or something, whatever, you know, I have to repair it. So these 4 steps are always very important, you know. Remember this, don't forget that. You know, if you do something wrong, 4 steps. First, you have to realize it's wrong. Second of all, you have to feel sad about it or unhappy about it. Then you have to repair, you have to give that money back that you stole. And then you can sing and dance in kirtan, everything's okay. Right? Did you write this down? Yeah. Very important. So now the question is, how did I get there? We're here reading about, yes. So whenever we come in a situation that we are not clear about something, like you go in the forest, right? And it's getting dark. So once it's completely dark, so what do you do? What do you do? Mata, do you keep going? No. You fall into the ditch. You know, you fall into the ditch. You have to wait till the sun comes. And so in the same way in our life, if we come into a situation that we're not clear about something, do not act. It's as simple as that, you know. You have to wait till the sun rises, and then you can see, here's the street and here's the ditch. So in the same way in Krishna consciousness, that's why if you don't know, sometimes some devotee may come, I'm so confused, I don't know anything, I don't know what to do. So, yes, you don't know what to do, then you're confused while you want to make a decision and something is not clear. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. You're confused because you try to decide and you cannot decide. You have to just wait till things become clear to you. And Prabhupada was an expert in that. You have to wait till the sun rises. I told you the story that Prabhupada, there was some discussion and Prabhupada couldn't ask everybody for his opinion, what shall we do? And then in the end, he said, well, let's just wait for Krishna. You know, and then after some time, Prabhupada gets the perfect solution. So in the devotee, he goes to Krishna, he goes to a particular Lord Nityananda, or Lord Chaitanya, and said, I have a problem, or Prabhupada, what shall I do about that? You can solve any problem like that. You will get 100% the answer. Anybody who comes to Krishna, in particular the spiritual master as a representation of the super soul, or you go into the temple, ask Lord Nityananda, don't ask Radha Krishna. I went to the temple in Vrindavan one time, and there was a little girl, she was praying in front of Radhisham, and she was not very well dressed, you know, she was a hippie girl, and she had dreads on. And, so I asked her, what are you praying for? She said, I want to become a gopi. That's a really inappropriate question to Krishna ask. Gopi is the highest, you know. Like you stand on the street like a beggar, and somebody said, what should I give you? a Mercedes 200 SD. That's ridiculous. You're asking for something appropriate, you know? I need to eat some food or something. So to ask Krishna, I want to become a gopi is ridiculous. It's the highest level of spiritualization one can possibly reach. You don't ask for that. And like Janani was told us, that Krishna, if you would speak to you, he said, why you come to me? I'm in my bath with my gopis. You know, you go to, I came for you as Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, ultimately spiritual master. So we should think like this. You have to wait sometimes. If something is unclear to you in your life, and for everybody sometimes it's unclear, right? Who has not been in a situation that something is not clear what you should do? Lift your hand.
No, you asked who has not been.
Who has not been confused about something?
I think everybody.
Everybody, yeah? You sure? You also? Sometimes you're not clear what to do, whether you should join the Hare Krishna movement or not, for example. You know, so in that situation, we have to wait till it becomes completely clear. Krishna will tell us. Krishna wants it if we take shelter in him and ask him. Ask and it will be given to you, it says in the Bible. You know, very beautiful. Just ask, what should I do? And it will be given to you. You get the idea. But this is a demon's mentality that I know what to do. Who can tell me something? Who says that I should ask somebody? I just take it. That's a demonic mentality, you know. He doesn't consider Krishna at all. We are dependent on Krishna on every second, you know. But we think, oh, I don't care. I know what I do. Who shall I ask? Who's more big than me? This is a mentality, you know. I don't care, I want to do my own thing. I want to go here, I want to go there, so many ideas, you know, I do it my way. That is a classical mentality of a demon. I do it my way. And Jesus said, your will be done. Not my will, not what I want. He says that clearly. Not what I want, what you want, I will do. That's the mentality of a devotee. How do you know? If it's not clear, you have to ask, what do you want me to do? My dear Prabhupada, what do you want me to do, actually, to make you happy? And he answered, he wrote a whole letter about that. If you really want to please me, distribute my books. It's right there. But no, we do this idea, that idea, so many ideas, you know, which ultimately will fail because they're not Prabhupada's ideas, they're not Krishna's idea, they're just our idea, which is the #1 disease, you know. We open so many doors, and we don't see the consequences that will have in the long run, you know. So we can see only from here to here, you know, small distance. We don't see what's over there. So in that situation, we have to wait for Krishna and pray for it. That's a classic behavior of a Vaishnava. He just waits for Krishna. And then you never have a problem. You just say, well, it's not clear, just wait. It will come out in due course of time. Like this one boy yesterday I talked to, the yogi, you know. I told him, you cannot know what you're going to do in 5 years or 10 years. You cannot know. Nobody knows. You cannot know. So just wait for it till you get the right idea and then you go into the right direction. You know? So this is a very practical, how do you say, method I'm speaking about. That don't be confused. If you don't know what to do, where to go, just ask. You know, or ask others even. Ask your best friend. You know, like I have one, in financial matters, for example, I used to go to one devotee, Varahamurti. You know Varahamurti? He's a powerful disciple. And so in financial matters, you know, I had some entanglement with the government, and I said, all right, let me tell them everything that was going on. I said, don't do that. He said, say nothing. He's more smart, you know, in these matters. He said, say nothing. Don't reveal them anything more than you have to reveal. It was very good advice in that situation. That I had spent 95% of my time outside of Germany instead of being inside where I'm supposed to be according to the pension I get. You know, he said, don't tell them anything. as long as they find out. So we have to, this guy is very good in these things. Some of us are very good in something, like who's doing the finances here? Huh? You know her?
She's new, she came after Chita Hari.
Huh?
She's new.
So I have a problem. I have to send money to somebody, and I have the money in my bank account. I don't know how to do that actually, using Wise. You know, this is a particular way without paying. So that lady tell her that I need to help from her today to figure that out. It's way beyond my horizon, you know, to do things like that. If you have something wrong for my computer, there's a guy in Ahmedabad. Whenever there's a problem, I call him, he fixes it. Oh, no problem, done, you know. So we have to ask, very important. In all matters when we're not clear about it, ask. You know. You can't make a mistake, you know, if you ask the proper person. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad, go to a spiritual master. You know, what is the verse? Go to a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively. There you have it. Ask. Render service unto him. The self-realized soul can give you knowledge because he has seen the truth. That verse is right there, of the same matter, you know, the same, how to say, the same category. You have to ask, you know. Otherwise you think Elvis Presley is God or something, some stupid idea. You know, so this is a very powerful way of advancing, is to ask questions. You know, to ask questions, why we're doing this. So I want to close here. Time's over. What an hour. Yeah.
I have a question. You said when we are not sure, we should ask Krishna.
We go to Lord Nityananda, or you go to Prabhupada.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes we are uncertain and we want to ask for direction, because we are afraid of the suffering that may come in the future. But do you think sometimes Krishna wants us to make this quote-unquote mistake? So for
quote-unquote what?
Mistake.
Mistake?
Mistake.
What?
Mistake.
Mistake.
For our own purification.
Oh, he wants us to react properly, but sometimes we do make a mistake. Everybody in the material world makes mistakes. Every human being, you know. Mahatma Gandhi, Prabhupada gives the example. Prabhupada wrote, Mahatma Gandhi, your life is in danger. Turn to God. What are you trying to do, you know? Just said Hare Krishna, now is the time to preach Bhagavad Gita. You wouldn't listen and poof, you were shot. Prabhupada gives this example, you know. So we should be not so puffed up that we know everything, and should rather be question, confront ourselves. Do I really know what to do? And if you don't know, you have to find somebody who can help you. And before I joined the movement, 24 hours a day, 22, one day or 2 days before, I had a question. You know, and I thought, God, give me the answer. You know, what shall I do about this? And then the door opened at half an hour, my little nephew came, and he said exactly what I needed to do. He didn't know what he was talking about. He had no idea, he was just 4 years old. But I listened to what he said, you know, it was so smart. Because Krishna spoke, used him as his mouthpiece. It's a true story, it was fantastic. 2 times, it was eerie, because I was in the consciousness and let me hear, God give me some guidance, you know. This little boy comes in, 3 years, 4 years old, you know. And so it's all a matter of being open to Krishna and trying to understand his will, what he wants me to do. Like when I was asking one lady in our temple in Munich, she was a very independent girl. Nobody could deal with her. She was a pain. And so I asked her, Mataji, what do you want to do in your life? I want to become a ZBC. She was not even initiated. They said, how do you do that? Well, there's a GBC seminar, there's a GBC school. I was told that asked him to send the formula, fill out the formula, and the man in charge, I won't name his name, said, you just come and make an application and we approve you and then we're giving you a zone. Full of brahmacharis who will listen to such an irrational person, you know? The world is full of foolishness, you know? My father used to say, if foolishness would hurt, the whole world would be in a hospital. You know? Dummheit und Stolz wachsen auf gleichem Holz. Stupidity and pride, they grow on the same tree. You know? Any other question? Does that answer your question?
I forgot the question, but yeah. Thanks.
That's not unusual. You have a question? Very simple, you know, our problems are very simple. Like I said a couple of times I'm here, there's this one devotee in Vrindavan. He's a relatively young devotee, he's an Indian devotee, he's very smart, he has I think he has a degree in business or something, you know. And he told me, he said, every time I have a problem, I go right into Samadhi and talk to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I have a big problem. What should I do about that? He said, it takes me 2 days. I'm getting an answer every single time. You know? So we're not alone. We're not alone. We can get good advice from Krishna as representatives, you know? But we are so stubborn and so proud, you know, that ultimately we don't want to bow down our neck. There's a song, come down from your throne. You know, like everybody sits on a throne, you come down from your throne. And so we are so proud that, and unwilling to bow our stiff neck till Krishna finally forces us at the time of death. Everybody has to bow down to death. That's why death is there, you know, to kick us, you know. So that's the thing, why the Adam and Eve, they never existed, as far as I understand. They're just allegorical figures. I've been Adam and Eve, Bhaktisiddhanta said, like Adam and Eve, he fell from the spiritual sky, you know. So they were told not to eat from this one tree, for whatever reason. There's a story actually that I was told by one old devotee who read Bhavishya Purana that tree were actually the sins of a Vedic king were transferred into this particular tree. There were the sinful reactions of this tree, and if you eat from this tree, you become sinful, you know. So they're told, don't touch that tree. They said, no, snake came if you eat this apple, you become as good as God. That's a good idea. I want to become God. They ate and that was it. The rest is history. You know, this is how that works. Yeah.
Why do they get knowledge from eating it from the tree also? They also get knowledge from eating from the tree.
The snake told them.
They get clever.
Yeah.
They get realizations also.
Well, they didn't learn anything. They just learned the hard way. They fell into the material world. And then their kids, already in the first generation, Abel, he offered fruit and vegetables to God. Cain, he offered meat. And when he saw, actually it's the other way around, funnily enough, because it's clearly changed in the Bible, that Abel was offering a lamb, whereas Cain was offering flowers and vegetables. So Cain became envious. How is that possible if you have the pure mentality? It's the other way around, you know. So the one devotee became envious of the other one and killed him in the first generation. There's a case of murder, according to the mythology. There's a case of murder, and it goes on and on and on, you know. I mean, if you read the history of the British, how do you say, kingdom, not British kingdom, the crown, huh?
Empire?
What?
Empire?
No, not empire. We're not talking about the construction. We talk about the royal the monarchy. If you read the monastery of the monastery, it is full of killing. Killing the mother, killing the father, it's full of killing. Yeah, everybody's killing his friends, killing his brother, It's unbelievers, horrible sinners. Hardly any case where there's not killing going on, except in the last centuries, maybe, Unbelievable. And so the killing, as Prabhupada says in Bhagavatam, even a king will kill his own son if necessary. Hiranyakashipu is a classic example, because of envy, killing, And even little children, the worm is crawling on the floor, the child goes and kills it. Is it? It's true. Killing even a little child. We had these wie nennt man die Wühlmäuse in unserem Garten.
Maulwurf.
Huh?
Ein Maulwurf.
What?
Maulwurf.
Maulwurf?
Im Maul.
Mole, yeah, mole.
Ja, Maulwurf.
And they come up and make this heap, or they make these channels, you can see it. So my father said, anybody, if you kill one of them, I'll give you 5 marks. And so I was engaged in the killing, so wait till they start moving and then put a spade here. They couldn't get back, and then I was a little boy. That's what you do. You're born in such a family, you do things in the family, So, very important to understand the value of suffering and where the suffering comes from, that actually everything comes to Krishna, and it is good so. You suffer, it is good so. You have a headache, it is good so. You have cut yourself, it's actually good so. You break your back or whatever, it's actually good so. Because it's Krishna's personal, he arranges.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask a question directed to this topic. Because if one is an aspiring devotee, very new, is it the same with an advanced devotee? That Krishna takes the same amount of care?
No, we don't know what Krishna does. Krishna is his own mind, Whatever he does to whoever, it is perfect. That much we should think. It's always perfect. And we cannot understand God's mind. It's just too huge, We are very small. The best thing is we learn, we are very small, let's be humble, and whatever Krishna does with us, that's it, There's no better way. Everybody's in Krishna's workshop. That's why there's no use to try to change somebody. You can't change anybody, because everybody's in Krishna's workshop. You cannot divert the history, Bhaktisiddhanta said, not even by an inch from its course. There's a wonderful, I read it to you, we have still a couple of minutes. It's fantastic what Bhaktisiddhanta says to that. Well, what's that be? Let me just my brain, there it is. It just popped into my brain. Listen to this one. The Wahnsinn. Totaler Wahnsinn. The world is in no need of any reformer. We don't need reformer. Because the world has a very competent person to guiding the world in minutest happenings in Krishna. He's already doing that, The person who finds that there's a necessity for him to reform the world needs to reform himself. He needs to reform himself. Like Jesus said, you see the speck of dust in your brother's eye, and you don't see the wood, the log in your own. It's a classic example. If I actually detect a fault, that means you're full of fault. Otherwise you can't see that even. Great sages, they don't see that. They see everybody as devotee above him and very pure. That's the pure mentality. The world goes on in its own perfect way. No person can deflect it, change it, but even the breath of a hair from the course chalked out by the Lord. When we perceive any change being actually affected in the course of events of this world by the agency of a particular individual, somebody does something to us, You should know well that this agent possesses no power at any stage. The agent finds himself driven forward by a force belonging to a complete different category, namely Krishna. Huh? The cause of the world does not require to be changed by the activity of any person. What is necessary is to change one's outlook on the world. This was done by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It could only be known by the recipient of his mercy, that things are like that. So, let me think about it a moment. There's a story, the famous story, the story of the unknown monk. It is said on the internet it's a 1,000-year-old story. Some people say it's actually a 19th century Jewish rabbi who came up with this. There was a boy, he said, when I was young, it says on the gravestone, on the epitaph on the gravestone, when I was young, I thought I should change the world. Like the Beatles saying, everybody wants to change the world, you know? I should change the world. When I got older, I realized if I could only change my country. When I got even older, I said, when I could change only my family. Now, on my deathbed, I realized if I could only have changed myself, then I would have been able to change my family, my country, and maybe even the whole world. And that's exactly the point, you know? Instead of trying to change the world, this is the wrong way. You get entangled. Even if it's a good intention, you get entangled like this. You should just depend on Krishna. We don't do our work in the meantime. There's an interesting example when in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the followers of Advaita Acharya, they disagreed with Acharya. And so there were two opinions. One is they followed correctly the teaching of Acharya, and the other one, they disobeyed. And so they got entangled into a huge fight, right? And so both fell, actually, because instead of working on themselves, right, and their own problems and they focused on this, these people are not right for it. And they lost their whole life because of it, because of endless criticism and counter-criticism. You see the point? It's not successful. We should just think ourselves, well, let me first take care of my own problems, my own filth, and get rid of that. And in the meantime, let Krishna take care of it, and he will.
Wie könnte man das auf die heutige Zeit übertragen und die Entwicklung von ISKCON? Wie könnte man das auf die heutige Zeit und die Entwicklung von ISKCON übertragen?
Well, what can you do? Ask yourself this question. What can you do? You're a small guy, I'm a small guy. What can you do? Nothing. It goes its own time. We had so many things going on, and we ran against it and got our head only kicked with blood, you know? Nothing you can do. What you can do is, you can chant Hare Krishna. Because then you get realization, and then you can accept, you can teach by example. That is actually the real power, not by words, but by example. Prabhupada changed the whole world by example. Whatever great man does, if somebody's great, the small man follows. Whatever example he sets by his acts, the whole world pursues. That's the technology, right there, you know, in these verses. You got it? By example. You can only change the world by example, in no other way. In no other way. Everything else is just artificial. You want to be the controller. Martin Luther, he was a full reformer, right? He hammered at the Church of Wittenberg his theses. After that, the whole Catholic Church broke into two pieces, who were for this and who were against it. And the war started, Catholics and Protestants. 30 years of the most bloody war we had in Europe. 30 million people died, you know. He thought he had a reform. I want to reform the world. Stalin, Lenin, they're all reformers. And what a mess they left, you see. Now Prabhupada is not a reformer. By his activities, he acted as reform. He was just pleasing Krishna. And then through him, the world was changed. But not, he didn't think himself, I'm going to reform the world. You can't. Krishna is a reformer. Krishna reforms it. He's active at every moment. Whatever is going on is nothing but Krishna. As he says when he left his body, everything moving, not moving, nothing but Krishna. So we always fall into the traps that you want to change. You can't change yourself. No time to change others. And you won't be successful. 100%. Krishna will not allow you to be successful. It's called his business. You get into his business, you know. The whole world, look at, we had so many people. Take, for example, Leonardo da Bruno. He was a monk, Benedictine monk, 15th century or something, and he wanted to reform the church, you know. And he preached openly reincarnation and vegetarianism, and spoke up against the church. Did he make any difference that he was there or not? He was tortured for 6 years in the basement of the Vatican. Ultimately, he was burnt on the stake, publicly in Rome. Did he make any difference? No, it didn't. It doesn't work like that. You know, you run against the wall. I tried to change my brother for centuries. Not a bit, not this much. You waste your time. You're barking up a tree, like the example is said in English, how that is expressed. You're barking up the wrong tree. The only way how we can change the world is to change ourselves. And that takes time and patience, you know. We have to focus on ourselves. Because you see the speck of dust in your brother's eye, you don't see the beam of wood in your own. Therefore, take out first, Jesus said, take out first the beam out of your own eye. And then you won't even see the speck of dust in your brother's eye. You know, it's a cataract, you don't see. Like many people who have LSD experiences, you know, they will see that the whole, I have experience like that, everything becomes pattern, it looks beautiful, it's like a muster over the whole landscape. It's just gorgeous, you know. But what is it? It's just the high blood pressure. It forces the lens, you know, the nets out, that you see in nets in the countryside. But there is no nets. It's just your cataract, you know, your misfunctioning of the eye due to the drug. So in the same way, we have this cataract, you know, we see from ourselves, we project. You know, why is he doing this, you know? He must be jealous or something, you know. It's something we have to learn, you know. When you think of, who wants this, that I sent him that the world needs no reformer?
You sent me this.
I did.
I have, yeah.
You should distribute to those, you know.
Distribute.
Yes. Okay.
See? Their customer. Mata, do you want that?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Bhaktisiddhanta's own words, you know. The world needs no reformer. That's the first sentence. The world is a very competent person for guiding its minutest happenings. Whatever happens is actually under Krishna's guidance. The person, and those who want to be self-righteous, they get also caught. I have the truth, you know. They get also caught. And only those who die ihre Klappe halten und an sich selbst arbeiten, they're in the best position. The person who finds that there's scope to reform the world himself stands in need of reform. The world goes on its own perfect ways. No person can deflect the world by even the breath of a hair from the course sharked out by providence. A great thing, you know. Okay. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Is it not like, even in ISKCON, we see that many people have ambitions.
What?
Many people have ambitions, even in ISKCON, to do
They have what?
ambition.
And business.
Ambition.
Ambition, yeah.
And is it not good?
Well, we have to have pure ambition. Pure ambition is that I have the ambition to satisfy Krishna. Whatever it takes. So how can I fulfill my ambition to do that? We have to cooperate with Krishna. We have to ask, my dear Krishna, I have some ambition. How can I use this in your service? How can I? The voice comes from the sky, my dear son, take a bag of books and go on the street. I say, yes. And you become the best book distributor. It's a huge fight between the best book distributors. So that's sanctified. It's clear from false ego. It is for this. You use anatta for the service of Krishna. You know? I look, for example, on what's his name? Ananda Krishna, you know? Ananda Krishna is an example. We talked yesterday about bridge preaching. He has done more bridge preaching than the whole ISKCON Germany together almost, just by classical preaching, giving lectures, etc. You know, bridge preaching doesn't mean that I put a beard on. You know, dress myself in a way that's conventional. That's not bridge preaching at all. You know, that preaching should be done by people who are on the other side. People who are, you know, halfway devoted, who has one foot in the material world, with another one in the spiritual world. And they should use that one level in the material world to talk to people. There was one devotee, one boy in our Heidelberg temple. He was such a bum. You know, but he would come, you know, and always bring people. And I tell him, you keep on going, you go back to Godhead. You know, because he was good at talking to people, you know, to hippies and all kinds of people he brought, you know. So that bridge preaching should be done by people who are on the other side. And they bring people over. Not that you are a brahmachari, you dress up as a yogi and have a yoga class. That's not your business. Your business is to preach, you know. You will find some people who are practicing yoga, then you can tell them, you could have a yoga class. And while you are teaching these people, you have some authority over them, then you speak about Bhagavad Gita. Let them do that. They're much better equipped. So the bridge preaching, yes, but not by us, by people who are outside. They should do it. Anybody comes to the temple, you say, you go, you can do also something for Krishna. What can I do? He said, you know many friends? Many? He said, I know so many. Talk to them about Krishna. Bring them here. You have something to do. You know, I wear a beard and go outside and okay, we drink. He offers me a whiff with a hash pipe and say, I take it just to build a bridge to them. That's not building a bridge at all, you know. You know, trying to be cool, trying to be, you know, nah, that doesn't work, you know. Let other people do that. It's a good idea. Otherwise we become polluted, you know. I thank you very much. I give one lecture more if you desire so.
Yes.
And I don't know what I'm going to talk. The thing is, I prepare. I don't prepare. I see something, I pick up on it and just, Krishna opens the top and then, huh? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premananda Harikol. Sarira Vidyajal Tendriya Taikar.